You guys already knew that this comparison was coming. I have been an avid OnePlus user ever since the OnePlus One, and until recently, my daily driver of choice has been the OnePlus 8 Pro. That was before I completely switched over to the iPhone 12 Pro Max for review purposes, and now I feel like I've spent enough time with both of these devices to give you guys a comparison between arguably the best Android device of 2020, the OnePlus 8 Pro, and of course the best iPhone that Apple currently has to offer to date, the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Both of these devices are 5G capable, although the 8 Pro only supports low-band and mid-band 5G, whereas the 12 Pro Max supports true millimeter wave 5G. Of course, you can make the argument that this comparison isn't legitimate because the chipset that competes with the A14 Bionic is supposed to be the Snapdragon 888, which as of today isn't available on any Android device, but it is coming and it's coming very quickly. Spoiler alert, both of these devices do not have any issues when it comes to performance. They are both beasts in the performance department. But of course, we will revisit this comparison once the OnePlus 9 Pro becomes available, so make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss that comparison. I promise you that will be a very good one. Both of these 2020 flagships have a premium build and design. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has a beautiful build with a matte etched glass back, flat edges, and stainless steel bands running around the device. The 12 Pro Max feels premium in every single way. Nothing about this device feels cheap. It has some good, almost too much heft to it. It feels nice in the hands, and the 12 Pro Max is pretty much the embodiment of everything that we've come to expect from Apple flagship devices. This is a big device. In fact, it's the biggest iPhone ever made to date, with a 6.7-inch OLED panel, which is 0.2 inches bigger than last year's 11 Pro Max. And of course, on the back, we have the infamous triple rear camera layout, which we will dive into a bit later in the video. The OnePlus 8 Pro is rocking a slightly larger 6.7-inch AMOLED panel. It also uses a glass back with an aluminum frame encompassing the device. I currently do have this skin on my 8 Pro just because I don't want to scratch the back when I am using the sandstone case. So if you guys are interested in this skin right here, I will link it in the description below. The rear cameras are set up in the upper center part of the phone's back inside a raised, stretched out oval design. Despite the 8 Pro being the taller of the two devices, I would say the 8 Pro is easier to handle one-handed just because of the narrow build and the OS implementations that make using this device one-handed more feasible. Whereas with the 12 Pro Max, oftentimes it does feel like you are handling a brick, and it is not easy to use one-handed. This is definitely a two-handed device. I do prefer convenience over a bigger phone, and not to mention the 8 Pro is 28 grams lighter than the 12 Pro Max. So give me the OnePlus 8 Pro's narrow build and form factor any day of the week. When it comes to the displays, both of these devices have fantastic displays. In fact, DisplayMate dubbed the 12 Pro Max as quote-unquote a state-of-the-art display, which pretty much means that the 12 Pro Max is rocking the best display they have ever tested to date. Now, that is some high praise that I don't necessarily agree with, simply because I feel like you can't dub a display the best in class if it's incapable of 120 Hz. Of course, that is just my opinion. Your opinion obviously may differ, but if it does, let me know why in the comments below. Everything else though about this display is top notch. We have a screen resolution of 1284 by 2778 for a PPI of 458. And a screen-to-body ratio of 87.4%. So it is a pretty immersive display despite the notch housing Face ID. You can watch HDR content and everything just looks terrific. My favorite part about this display though has to be the fact that it is a flat display. Flat panels have always been my preference. Aesthetic-wise, a curved display does look better, but practicality-wise, I do prefer a flat panel. This display also gets pretty bright, up to a peak brightness of 1200 nits. I've always found the auto brightness on iPhones to be excellent, and that auto brightness combined with True Tone does a terrific job of adjusting the screen's brightness to your surrounding environment. Now, let's talk about the controversial display on the OnePlus 8 Pro. It seems like many people out there are having green tint issues, and every time I talk about this device on my channel, my comment section is always flooded with questions asking about green tint issues. Just an FYI, I bought my OnePlus 8 Pro directly from OnePlus here in Canada, and I haven't had any screen issues whatsoever. The green tint issue seems to be prevalent in the South Asia market. Now, I'm not sure why that is, but it does exist. And it is a real issue with the display that you do need to be made aware of. Aside from that though, this display is up there with one of the best displays on the market. We have a 90.8% screen to body ratio with a resolution of 1440 by 3168 for a PPI of 513. This is a truly immersive display that feels like you are holding nothing but a glass panel in your hands. You do sometimes experience accidental touches when you are typing or just scrolling the web because of the curved display. But for the most part, it's all about adapting to the curvature. The best part about this display has to be the 120Hz refresh rate. Don't knock 120Hz until you get a chance to try it, because after that you will never go back to a device that doesn't have 120Hz ever again. It's super smooth while casually scrolling the web, it's amazing for gaming, and in 2020 man, every flagship should have 120Hz. The key difference that separates the OnePlus 8 Pro's display from other OEMs is the ability to run 120Hz on a Quad HD resolution, which even flagships like the Note 20 Ultra is incapable of doing. Also, with the update to Oxygen OS 11, OnePlus brought forth an always-on display, which is something that I've been asking Apple to implement for a very long time. It doesn't make sense as to why they can't do it since they are now using OLED panels, but that conversation is for a separate video, so we're not going to get into that. If we are rounding here, the 12 Pro Max is equipped with a 3700 mAh battery, and the OnePlus 8 Pro comes with a 4500 mAh battery. Even though the 8 Pro has the bigger battery, the 12 Pro Max is just so efficient at running iOS that you can easily get around 9 hours of screen on time per day consistently. The 8 Pro is no battery slouch either. Despite the fact that I do run it all times at 120Hz, I can get through an entire day's of usage with around 7 hours of screen on time, which I find to be very impressive. Maybe if I do lower the refresh rate to 60Hz, I can probably get around 8 hours of screen on time, but that's not the way you're supposed to be running a OnePlus device. That is just a slap in the face. Where the OnePlus 8 Pro does shine though is in the charging department. The 8 Pro is equipped with useful charging features such as fast charging, fast wireless charging, and even reverse wireless charging. In just 23 minutes, you can get up to 50% battery life with a wired connection. Even more impressive, on a wireless connection, you can get up to 50% in just 30 minutes. So absolutely insane fast charging times, which the iPhone 12 Pro Max does struggle to compete with. On the 12 Pro Max, you can get fast charging speeds up to 50% in half an hour. But you do need to invest in a 20-watt charging brick, which is going to cost you another $20. If you guys want some more affordable charging bricks, I will link some made by Aukey in the description below. This year, Apple did introduce MagSafe, which is their version of wireless charging. You can now charge your iPhone at a wireless charging speed of 15 watts. I do like MagSafe. I think it's a very smart way of accessorizing your iPhone. My only complaint with MagSafe wireless charging is that the iPhone 12 Pro Max does get extremely hot, which does raise concern for me regarding battery degradation over time. When you compare Geekbench scores, the 12 Pro Max absolutely obliterates the OnePlus 8 Pro, and that is no surprise. We've known for years now that Apple Bionic chipsets are quite simply impossible to compete with. But a powerful chipset doesn't necessarily translate to exceptional real-world performance. There are some other factors to consider, such as the OS, RAM management, and of course, refresh rate. Performance is great on both of these devices, but that refresh rate on the 8 Pro is something else. This is the 12GB variant, and this phone absolutely just flies. Benchmark scores don't indicate the power and the prowess of the 8 Pro in real-life day-to-day usage. That being said though, I will give the performance edge over to the 12 Pro Max, but the OnePlus 8 Pro gives you the illusion that it is the better performing phone. The combination of 12GB, the Snapdragon 865 Plus, and 120Hz makes this the best performing Android device we've seen in 2020. Yes, that is a bold claim. I'm currently running Oxygen OS 11. Yes, the UI does resemble Samsung's One UI skin, but I think it's a much lighter version of One UI, where the skin isn't as heavy and it does somewhat resemble stock Android. One important thing to keep note of though is that with an iPhone, you are set to receive at least 5 years of software updates. I truly respect Apple for supporting older devices. Not everyone can afford a new phone every year, but they can get that feeling of a new phone with consistent updates throughout the years. So with the 12 Pro Max, you are looking at getting more of your money's worth down the line. If you are like me and you are into listening to music out loud on your phone speakers, then I would recommend the 12 Pro Max. It's just a better sounding dual stereo speaker setup in comparison to the OnePlus 8 Pro. Biometrics are more important than ever in this day and age. The 12 Pro Max uses biometrics in the form of Face ID, and of course the OnePlus 8 Pro uses an optical fingerprint scanner. My preference, even pre-pandemic, has always been Touch ID. It's much more convenient, the phone's already unlocked by the time you bring it to your face, and on the OnePlus 8 Pro, it even works when your fingers are wet. Although for 2021, there are strong rumors out there that Apple will be bringing back Touch ID on the iPhone 13. But that still remains to be seen. For me, what really makes a phone feel premium is a good haptic motor. Both of these devices have great haptics and they do a good job of providing feedback upon interaction. The 12 Pro Max though does have a slight advantage in my opinion when it comes to haptics. The vibrations are slightly stronger and you do get that sense that you are using a phone worth the price of admission. That's how important haptics are in my opinion. Cameras, of course, are a critical component of any phone. The OnePlus 8 Pro goes all out on the camera front, at least in terms of hardware. It's featuring a 48 megapixel main sensor, an 8 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and a 48 megapixel ultra wide. The fourth camera is just a useless color filter, which I won't even get into. The 12 Pro Max does have 3 camera sensors, each of which are 12 megapixels in size. The main shooter is featuring an aperture of f1.6, so it does perform better in low light scenarios. The 12 Pro Max also has a LiDAR scanner on the back, which is used to record pixel depth information for better portrait images, better video clips, and improvements to AR experiences. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is one of the best performers in the camera department. If you want a flagship with a great camera system, I would highly recommend the iPhone 12 Pro Max over the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's as simple as that. It's not that the 8 Pro has a terrible camera system, they're just not on par with flagship quality cameras that are currently on the market. The 12 Pro Max captures images that are realistic and true to life, whereas the 8 Pro sometimes struggles with images, it does wash them out, it sometimes increases the saturation when it's not required, and oftentimes it does overexpose pictures in bright sunny conditions. In low light, when you are using night mode, the 12 Pro Max is superb, and I would go as far as saying it is the best performer of 2020 when it comes to low light photography. As usual, video recording is dominated by the 12 Pro Max. You can record video in 10-bit HDR, which is just insane for a smartphone. Both of these phones can record in 4K at 60 FPS, but the video coming out of the 12 Pro Max is just miles better. As this video does come to an end, which one of these two 2020 flagships would I choose in 2021? Honestly, the decision is hard, but I'm slightly biased towards OnePlus devices. I love the performance, the feel, and yes, even the UI. The OnePlus 8 Pro is easier to hold in the hands, it comes in some awesome colors, and the cameras are good enough, at least for me, to get by. The iPhone 12 Pro Max, in my opinion, is big for no reason. Apple doesn't really take advantage of all of the screen real estate, it's limited by iOS 14, and I would love to see them implement some sort of multitasking in the future just to use all of this screen real estate up. But yeah, that's been it for me guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave you guys with my OnePlus 8 Pro review and my iPhone 12 Pro Max review. If you guys made it till the end of this video, just comment down below #flexwithyourtech. I would love to know who you guys are. I'll catch you all in the next one, and don't forget to flex with your tech.